Welcome and thank you for joining us today for Navigating the Application Dependency Mapping Maze, Finding the Right Solution and Making It Work for You webinar. My name is Raleigh Gould and I will be your moderator for today's event. Our featured speakers are Dennis Drogseth, VP of Research at Enterprise Management Associates, and Renaud Bonnevie, Product Manager at ASG Software. Dennis brings over 30 years of experience in various aspects of marketing and business planning for service management solutions. He supports EMA through leadership in business service management, CMDB systems, automation systems, and service-centric financial optimization. Renaud is responsible for the direction and management of all IT asset and service management, Discovery and Dependency Mapping solutions at ASG Software. He is also responsible for driving the long-term strategy of the product lines, services, and solutions. And now I'd like to go ahead and turn things over to our first featured speaker, Dennis Drogseth. Dennis?
Well, thank you, Raleigh. Welcome to you all. Between Renaud and I, we have quite a bit we'll be talking about. So I'm going to move right into the agenda a little bit. So broadly speaking, we're going to look at why you should invest and the values associated with application discovery and dependency mapping, what it can do for you. And of course, that'll be a theme that we weave throughout the presentation today. We're going to look at how the market and the technologies have changed over the years, continue to change and evolve. And then perhaps the heart of the presentation, be sharing if you're looking at making an investment, what are the core criteria you'd like to or you should consider, and what are the more advanced criteria you should look for. Going to do a little bit on how to really make your deployments work. Really deserves a separate discussion in itself, but just a few highlights just to reinforce the fact that like any really powerful strategic solution, ADDM requires other factors such as dialogue, communication to really succeed in deployment. Then we'll wrap up with some of the salient benefits, but sort of a mirror of the needs that we started with in the beginning, and wrap up with a conclusion. So I'm going to present a little bit of intro, sort of 3 steps. This first step is data that we've sort of garnered over the years. Nothing all too new and exciting in it probably for most of you. We'll start here. So standard rates of change have been 20 to 40% per year. They are certainly increasing, not decreasing. Trying to support dynamic environments, including cloud-related environments, manually becomes a near or absolute impossibility. There are lots of debates and data on how much performance and services and other factors are impacted by change. The numbers here are a wide range and certainly conservative. For a while, the standard used to be 80%. Of course, a lot depends on how you define change and outcome. The continued use of expert opinion is to some degree astonishing, but in other respects not at all, given the fact that a lot of tool deployments are still siloed, and expert opinion still counts for a lot. However, when you need a cohesive answer across groups, expert opinion can become a real nightmare. Support costs escalating to 60–80% of the budget, trying to that needle in a haystack, and long bridge calls that can be international in nature with huge salaries for subject matter experts trying to agree on something that they can. Just a couple of other data points. I'll be doing a webinar on ecosystem cloud that I'll give a few highlights as relevant to ADDM throughout, just to whet your appetite. That will be on the 20th. One relevant here is shadow IT is growing at a dramatic rate. Cloud is certainly a factor, not the only one. 71% of our respondents reported a move to shadow IT, and 62% of those found it disruptive in a meaningful way to their organizations. And only 9% felt that cloud was moving, did not require any process or organizational shifts, as well as new technology investments. So we have here a perfect storm. We've inherited a lot of problems from managing change, and it compounded by the fact that we're dealing with ecosystems, dynamic infrastructure, the so-called consumerization of IT and the gradual empowerment of the consumer, and a shifting kind of governance for IT all at once. How do we really make this work? Well, back to basics on the next slide. Let's look at data, because data is one of the foundations for how IT can be managed well and managed well. So, again, looking at recent research data from EMA, only 23% of our respondents felt they had 95% or better data accuracy. 58% of our respondents only had some level of automated discovery, and the bar was pretty low. We didn't require soup to nuts. This was just basic. Do you have some kind of automated discovery somewhere? And the updates were not very frequent on these. Where is data stored? Now, this was focused in terms of both service and asset management, with a focus primarily on asset management as related to services. And I think the list is far from complete. Certainly, the basic statement here is it's spread out all over the place. You can probably multiply this by a factor of 10 once you think of other related disciplines like performance management data, really in-depth configuration management data, service governance data, etc. So this data sprawl, to some degree, is far more dangerous even than VM sprawl. All IT processes, to some degree, require, or at least should require, data. I guess some of them may be a finger to the wind. And if the data is incomplete, fragmented, and not cohesive, it can lead to dramatic problems within IT, both in terms of maintaining services, in terms of governing IT, in terms of optimizing assets, etc. A little bit of a side note in terms of the importance of data. We do a lot of consulting on CMDB and application dependency mapping deployments. And right within ITIL itself, the IT Infrastructure Library, they have lists of metrics and KPIs for how do you establish success in a launch. Well, all of these are very data-centric, and I'll just mention a few. Number of failed requests for change from bad data. Number of failed changes caused by poorly documented CIs. Number of requests for change without corresponding CI updates. Percentage of inaccurate CIs. Number of incidents due to inaccurate CIs. Matching SLAs to CIs, etc. So data is really a foundation for running IT. One example, of course, would be release management. DevOps itself is becoming not only a buzzword, but very data dependent, and the sharing that goes across the DevOps environment requires a cohesive insight into apps and infrastructure. And here we have a case where a release is being rolled out, not working the way it's supposed to. In fact, the code was not completely deployed, contrary to popular superstition, and so there were results in real breakage here. So application discovery and dependency mapping, we'll use the full ADDM acronym for now, can result in a dramatic step forward, especially if well deployed and especially if you make the right type of investment. Provides real versus hypothetical data, minimizes the need for manual involvement, although in many cases doesn't completely eliminate the requirements for some dialogue and interaction. In fact, promotes better dialogue. Provides more accurate knowledge about interdependencies than manual processes ever can, and provides supports higher availability by exposing those unknown gotchas when you're managing change. So we're going to look at a couple of quotes throughout the presentation just to kind of reinforce. These are taken from, again, research and consulting with EMA. So this is addressing the need for ADDM. And here we had a case of, speaking of DevOps, a bunch of programmers who were happy to make changes and not tell anyone about it. Well, technology can't completely solve that, but good app dependency tools can provide a context to promote that dialogue and also can capture some of what's really going on. A big theme for ADDM, looking for a way to understand how nodes and relationships, in particular between nodes, impact critical changes. They had a process, but no real visibility, so it's good to have a good process, but you need to be able to see what's really true. And similar, our overarching charter to get a better understanding of how all the components work together. This case targeted at incident and problem management. And by the way, I believe you can get copies of the report. If I move a little quickly on some of the slides, you'll be able to have copies for your reference. The top quote there, ADDM can be a real sort of vanguard into adopting and succeeding with new technologies, whether it's SOA, utility computing, cloud, and virtualized data center consolidation. All these things that can play a big factor in. And then back to rather straightforward value, generating compliance reports for audits, another real value from an ADDM deployment. I'm going to read one quote that's not on the slides to sort of bring a lot of things together in two sentences. The first sentence, it's actually three. So first sentence says, we make sure every billing parameter, CPU, disk space, and all discovered data is exactly the same. Okay, that's one real value. We also use it when we want to plan a big change, a critical change, high impact, including the move to virtualization. We use our system every time there's a critical change to plan. Instead of taking 1 week or more, it takes 5 minutes. So let's look at how ADDM technologies have changed and evolved over time. The whole manual approach to looking at what's true, the old war room is famous, of course, network war room. I helped build a network management practice here, so I'm quite familiar with a lot of the practices. And there was a basic topology that many in networking war room looked at, but in reality, most of the details came from some level of fragmented tools and a lot of expert opinion. One of our consultants found there was, in one environment, a wall created that was supposed to be the perfect war room where everything was put up on the wall, sort of paper form, as a current state of what's true. It turned out they didn't have the right tools, and the wall was more of a wailing wall than anything else because it had nothing that was relevant or accurate within it. Some basics on ADDM. Scan the network or the networked infrastructure or the applications across the network and find business services. You can map those and display them. Should be across both packaged and custom applications. And of course, packaged applications are well-known signatures. Custom applications require a little more ingenuity. So adapting for both, it's something you want to look for in terms of strengths for both. So as we look at the evolution, one of the things that we'll be doing, in fact, we've already started the work, is a radar, a sort of market evaluation of a number of ADDM solutions. And we are looking at this as a use case versus a monolithic approach. And while the optimal investment in ADDM would give you a modular way to work across use cases, and I'll stress that multiple times today, there are use cases to consider, all of which have solutions, in some cases, optimized to just one. Performance and real-time visibility into application and application transactions and their interdependencies. managing core change and configuration requirements, almost classically, certainly through integration with the CMDB, and managing assets effectively, cohesively, with an eye to how they support services so they're not simply disconnected from the business of IT. Before adopting the solution, you want to really ask yourself what your priorities are. And there are other use cases. We'll talk about a few of them. Some of them involve, for instance, DevOps or even security-related issues. So how did the market evolve? At the beginning, there was, it sounds biblical, but I don't mean it to be. In the beginning, there was a very strong focus on configuration-centric tools, in-depth capabilities to look at application and infrastructure, in particular systems-related config, and manage those for changes. The CMDB was a big part of that, and that is continues to be perhaps the heart of the core DNA, even for app dependency tools as they've evolved today. But there's been a lot of involvement and investment in more real time, and of course the two are beginning to blend with cloud once you get into virtualized environments with vMotion and vSprawl. But there are a number of tools out there that are really just optimized to look at performance-specific interdependencies and handshake sometimes well and sometimes not at all with the configuration-centric tools. So this actually mirrors a lot of what EMA has been talking about for more than 5 years in terms of the two CMDBs, the CMDB that's process-centric, control-oriented, change-centric, and the one that's performance-centric and more real-time with a common service model across both. So let's flesh out the rest of this rather quickly to see what that looks like. What that really looks like then is, and to be clear, what those mysterious acronyms are. On the left you have what's an operational management database, event-centric. On the right, performance management database, more time series-centric. A business service management dashboard or a service management dashboard using modeling. At the center of it all, the true spine of it all, is an adaptive service model that can be leveraged across the entire environment. And I would argue that application discovery and dependency tools are evolving to become and reflect that very spine. An aside to say that one of the objectives of application dependency is to integrate with good configuration and other automation tools. And here's a list of some priorities. In fact, ADDM is itself perhaps a form of automation. So the two really go well together. Good visibility can support good analytics for one thing and good automation for another. So what are the core criteria for ADDM? Automated discovery and modeling of applications, transactions, and or services. Not all services are applications. The generation of a graphical service model, usually a top-down look that has a handshake with a bottom-up insight. And again, that's how so many tools differentiate. Where are they strong? What are they focused on? Clearly, visualization is key. Ability to support both custom and packaged applications, that's very critical. And custom is, again, a set of unique requirements. Being able to leverage fingerprints and other identifying technologies is really a how-to. A broad support for different roles because this is a unifying technology for IT, one that can impact for the better how IT works as a whole. What are some of the advanced criteria? Of course, all of that above. And then the other, another value with some solutions, it's very powerful, is good integration with other third-party capabilities. Again, if you think of it as a spine for IT, those integration capabilities become very important, whether you're doing performance or asset or whatever, by providing a common framework. Integration with IT service management functions, more associated with the service desk perhaps, by nomenclature change, config, incident problem, service level, and workflow and process flows. And analytics, good support for optimization, capacity planning, performance, you name it, financial optimization for that matter. You have a context for doing those analytics more efficiently and better. Big data for IT really thrives when it's combined with good application discovery dependency. Heterogeneous support for virtual and cloud, really a must-have increasingly. Good scalability for large, but also downward scalability is ideal, the ideal design. And wrapping up on advanced criteria, both IT and business roles should be supported because in the end you're supporting more efficient service delivery to the business. Integration and support with the configuration management system or CMDB is really critical for many use cases. Multiple states supported. What are we looking at? Just discovered, or can we see at least through integration with the CMDB, approved, planned, etc. Can we get history? Support for asset inventory reconciliation, taking a lot of other data sources, being able to pull them together into that service model and inform on it. And then efficiencies in deployment, minimal manual modeling, policy-based reconciliation that's more automated, and return on investment in 12 months or less. So I know this sounds like Disneyland, a perfect world, but in fact the tools are evolving to move pretty close to some of these capabilities, and I believe Renaud will be able to share more on that from an ASG perspective fairly soon. So how do you make ADDM deployments work for you? Well, number one, you want to look at who's in charge and why. And this is a list that we've taken from consulting and deployments that can apply to ADDM priorities. So it's very important to get the politics behind you, again, because you're working across different groups. Another way to look at those politics are what kind of data sets are you looking to include? Basic inventory, all hardware across network stores and other devices? Are you really focusing on managing change with detailed config? What about security and compliance? Transactional awareness. How important is it that you really link right up to that moment of transaction so you can understand impacts of change dynamically? Lifecycle management and optimization of the infrastructure and IT investments. Impact for capacity planning and optimization, because you can see how things work together and how they fit together. Again, ditto for performance. Vendor resource management. Knowing what you've got and how it works together makes you much more able to work and leverage your service provider dependencies and cloud service provider dependencies. So as you start, you probably want to do a little bit of I hate to use a word from the 50s and 60s, existential, but appropriate existential look at who you are and what you're doing and what you've done so far. Many companies ask us for generic answers, and I usually come back at them and ask them if they think they're generic themselves. And of course, the answer is usually no, thank heavens. So you're usually distinctive in some ways, and you want to understand how and why, both in terms of level of maturity and in terms of your own priorities. So for instance, we had a company, here's an example of some specifics that might apply to you. This happened to be a very large retail environment. They were trying to optimize change. They were leveraging ADDM with a CMDB in their case. Their problems were focusing on daily issues. They had too many metrics, and the metrics were not ranked. In other words, everything was in the same boat. They had no real service level management, and they had a lot of fragmentation in terms of tools. Their top three issues turned out to be executive support, setting initial expectations, and implementation of solid processes. And they had one key issue, that I think is interesting, getting the right level of requirements to understand value. So a little bit of existentialism can go a long way in helping you succeed. Here are some comments from, again, real deployments, like reinforcing the very obvious facts, perhaps. Most of the issues were organizational in this case. It took a few months. Our change advisory board met twice a week. Application discovery dependency mapping helped with risk assessment. But trying to leverage it more broadly, the people are slower to evolve than the technologies. Here we have about 300 different stakeholders. You can see the span, including business executives, and getting those to work together, of course, can be a challenge. I'll just make a passing mention, a little bit of an aside, really, that ITIL turned out to be very important to our cloud deployments in May of this year. Many people feel that the IT infrastructure library and cloud are not compatible, but those with very successful cloud, well, the general population viewed ITIL as very important, and those with very successful cloud deployments were 4 times more likely to view ITIL as extremely important, and 5 times more likely to view ITIL as significantly gaining in importance. Now, that could be a separate presentation, but I thought I'd throw it in terms of the importance of process, people, and other considerations along with technology. And here's a list of some success factors, again, from research and from the field. I'm not going to spend much time, but I think reflect some of what I've already said. ADDM benefits. Again, these are taken from consulting work and from research. An interesting kind of mix. Positive business goals, pretty generic, but notice the very high level association with business outcomes. New IT initiatives, we talked about a few, such as cloud, data center, etc. Consolidating silo-based asset management into a single service-centric view, something ADDM can do better than anything else. Support the move to virtualization and cloud, meet security and compliance audits, provisioning new application services, optimizing business service performance, improved operational efficiencies for managing change, optimizing assets, triage and diagnostics. And let's look at a few last quotes to wrap up on the benefits front. Vast improvements in outcome. Looking to understand the impact of change, now again, much more visible. Here's a nice one. Reduce downtime 80% in critical applications over the past year. Right there, you see ROI. Move quickly to identify the source of issues with complex multi-tier apps. The bottom one's interesting because it really elucidates issues in how applications are actually put together and how they might be put together better in the future. This is a very important one, and I have to say this is specific to ASG in this quote. The others, some of them may be as well, but I remember this one is. The ability to leverage existing investments and, again, allow them to work together better and bring them together in a cohesive way, keeping their babies, so to speak, but it really allows them to work together much more effectively. And the change impact feature, allowing the development teams to really plan their changes, communicate changes, and work with production. And last, this is another quote that sort of brings it all together. From a service provider perspective, if you look at the disciplines that we touch on here, incident, problem, management, change, also tracking devices, purchase dates, warranties, it really becomes a unified view of managing your environment. So once again, I'd like to wrap up by reinforcing the notion that ADDM is becoming the new spine for service management. Why? Because it brings together interdependencies across heterogeneous environments. It can support linkages between logical and physical, including service provider and ecosystem interdependencies. Can be federated and can complement and, in fact, enable and further trends like big data and automation. One more little bit of sort of spice from ecosystem cloud coming up. I was very curious to see how much service modeling was directly playing into managing cloud environments, and this was internal and external, the whole mosaic. 83% of our respondents were leveraging service modeling in some way, and most of them were applying it to cloud specifically as well as non-cloud. We had 50% doing application dependency mapping for performance, 44% doing application dependency mapping for change. However, when we looked at those who were very successful with their cloud deployments, the shifts was fairly dramatic. We saw application dependency mapping for change at 63% of those who were very successful versus 36% of everybody else. What a dramatic difference. And application dependency mapping performance at 67% of those who were very successful with cloud versus 43% for everyone else. So that need for vision across a dynamic and shifting world is more relevant than ever. Wrapping up in the last slide here, changing market, indeed, meeting changing needs, and it's a good thing, but it's really coming of age. It could be a core foundation for virtually all IT processes, one way or the other, and you help to provide a more unified approach to data associated with those processes. Nevertheless, organizational and human issues need to be considered in your deployments. You just can't put something on a server, go out, have a beer, and expect it all your life to be changed. Selecting the right solution for you means first asking what your most critical uses are, and again, we've singled out 3 primarily, but there are others: DevOps, compliance, security. And I hope I've conveyed at least some real relevant data to get you to feel that ADM investments can really be a huge value for you once you understand your needs and once you go forward in a way that's specific to your requirements. And now I'd like to turn it over to Renaud to talk more specifically about ASG.
Thank you, Dennis. So, welcome everybody. I'm Renaud Bonnevie. Obviously, I'm French, but I have been working in heterogeneous environment internationally on this kind of project for over the next 10 years. And I'm actually responsible for the direction of IT asset and service management, discovery, and dependency mapping solution at ASG for on-premise SaaS and cloud models. So my aim today is to provide you with some insight on our activities in the ADDM space. I want to start with the customer story, Air Liquide, which is a leader in gases for industry, health, and environment. So we succeeded to move Air Liquide from a situation where they had fragmented data, great difficulties getting a global view of their IT information, to a situation where they have full control of their IT environment and deployment. So the main pain points that they were mentioning was that they had no visibility of their IT devices distributed worldwide, no global visibility with each IT organization having its own tool or spreadsheet, no way to optimize the asset tracking, and based on those first issues, we were facing that they had no ability to understand globally configuration and their impact to support and improve the change management, neither a way of exchanging information between the services. So what did ASG provide to solve their pain points? One single solution composed of 2 products. ASG-DDM to provide an insistent and consolidated approach to discovery and dependency mapping. ASG ITSM provide a flexible CMDB that enables to manage all IT and industry-specific hardware enabling a consolidated management and a continuous updated view with important features like the data center management that we will present during this couple of slides. What did Air Liquide get? An effective discovery of most specific and critical resources. Through agentless discovery, store information on application and their dependency. And most important is that we could extend discovery to unknown industrial devices to be able to manage their dependencies. So we provided them with a clear view of their interdependencies between servers, application, network devices, softwares, configuration files, operating system, and other IT infrastructure components. This provided a shared topological view of application for use by other management applications such as service management, monitoring, and provisioning tools. It helps Air Liquide to understand the changes and control its effect throughout the infrastructure. And all changes on the data center are centralized and optimized. Other important value that it brings was that we could help the customer to start their green IT challenges. We did provide them also knowledge on their data center racks usage and a lot of different information based on the knowledge of virtualization usage thanks to their pro meter capacities. So I want to move now to some of the challenges of the discovery mapping and how ASG-DDM helps in those challenges. Some challenges could be understood if we take into account some of the following statements. Modern IT environments are complex. They are continually changing. New technology get introduced, such as clustering, virtualization, cloud, and etc. This means that software companies need to have an ever more complex management system. A couple of changes in the ADDM world that we could list are to find relevant information available on a network based on an initiative that you are following, understand and improve the information collected in a way that you provide value on the managed information. Understand the relationship between collected information and managed information, getting value from several ways of representing the information, and understanding the challenges of data optimization to provide relevant inputs for governance. ASG answered those challenges with discovery, inventory, measurement capabilities, footprints and fingerprints catalog capabilities, visual dependency mapping and CMDB or CMS to reconcile IT and non-IT related information, and governance solutions that provide value thanks to the optimization scenarios. So I will introduce one of the values that one of our partners is providing to our ADDM strategy. ASG technology provides world-class software recognition capabilities to improve the quality and accuracy of discovered data. ASG, for instance, provides normalization rules across more than 70,000 vendor footprints that can deliver easily understood description of what software resides where, with clear and current information on license, hardware, and other requirements. So I want to focus on a couple of use cases as the ADDM scope is quite large. So the first use case that I want to present is the challenges about the data normalization and categorization. And if we turn it into a question, it could be how can we certify that the data quality in in complex environments? So the challenges there is to take a decision on application rationalization requires an assimilation of data from diverse discovery tools unfortunately, these tools are inconsistent naming convention to refer to identify of the same asset, thus making it impossible to reliably assimilate data of 1,000 different types of IT elements, and moreover, query to extract information becomes extremely complex to write and maintain. In other words, what will happen if we perform a discovery with several discovery tools on the same platform? Each of them will bring its own categorization and normalization for the same software fingerprint. So the main value there is to bring and provide a single definition and categorization for this same piece of hardware, software, or license, even for the same piece of application, and to not have 3 times a different reference because we are using different tools into this market. So ASG-DDM already applied this normalization categorization in their discovered data. The pain that is solved is that we eliminate manual efforts to maximize savings. So Atria technology provide IT data alignment by replacing current manual error-prone and often impossible process with a faster, automated, and reliable source of information. The content-driven normalization approach ensures that data is normalized with the right context, adding immediate value to our solution. So after the data quality use case, I want to address a new use case for the DDM space, which is the data exhaustivity. Data exhaustivity depends on which part of the DDM initiative we are focusing, or at least which one we are implementing. So are we in the asset management data, where we want to focus more on information like hardware, terms and contracts, and life cycle of its hardware? Are we in the license compliance focus, which requires detailed information on software, license, hardwares, and terms and contracts? Are we more in the CMDB or in change management focus, with mainly risk assessments or an application dependency and baseline management? Or are we in a license optimization data which requires detailed information on the hardware, license, and option of this application or licenses? So such as which options of Oracle are installed on the server to really understand what we should be pricing for the server, and could we not aggregate this information? So this initiative have been brought by one of our partners called iQuate, so providing us this value into our ADDM initiative. So for this use case, what we want to understand is what are the challenges of the discovery on license optimization. A good sentence that was quite interesting when I saw it was the following: did you know that 70% of your software spend is in the data centers? So Gartner estimates that most of the companies supporting large data centers spend at least this much, and up to 80%. Understanding the deployment of the software in data centers is difficult. Complex environments involve physical hardware, virtual servers, clustering, and different software configuration across multiple platforms. What are the activities of the license optimization? What happened first? So first, the discovery, so that we are providing to provide an insight within the network. We try then to get a better understanding with inventory. So inventory is providing inventory scanning that will confirm that software is installed on the server. Manual licensing count normally follows. Then we have the inventory alone, which is not enough for the license management. So we have to add a piece on top of measurement. Measurement scan follows the terms and conditions of the contract. scans the servers all the data points needed for licensing, such as the clustering information, cores, counts, in use, or installed. So the measurement provides us an essential information enabling license optimization. If we link it to contract reconciliation process, we can identify the license optimization possibilities, and combined with information from the application dependency mapping and with a risk analysis focus, we can provide license optimization rationalization. This will provide us a unique insight on for the change manager that can decide whether or not the license optimization options are possible combined with the risk of and impact of a change and what it represents for the criticality of a specific application. So the combined initiative of discovery and measurement on a specific initiative like license optimization, combined with ADDM possibilities, is providing a high value. So now we want to get to other ADDM insight. So data quality and data exhaustivity by initiative will provide a lot of value. But it needs to be turned into a system that will be able to represent the information in a way that it will provide value. And all representation needs to be turned into an initiative that you want to address. Like I said, license compliance, risk reduction, ISO, or any other asset management initiative or SIMDB initiatives. And to be able to manage your several initiatives, you need to ensure you don't miss a piece of your knowledge in your infrastructure. It can have a huge impact on your hardware and license optimization challenges. If we take the following example, I cannot make license optimization if I miss information on virtualization or clustering. By completely understanding the infrastructure and by getting relevant representation of your collected and managed information into your CMS or SIMDB, you can get value and apply a governance strategy. Data center consolidation initiatives often suffer from mismatch between anticipated benefits and actual results. Anticipated benefits are often overstated due to the inability to connect and analyze data from different IT systems, such as asset, financials, and operation systems. Guesswork and assumptions substitute for real data, leading inevitably to a large variance of anticipated benefits and actual results. So our solution gives you immediate clarity with graphical representation of your data centers. The data center view is part of the physical hardware optimization strategy, providing a unique understanding of the rack utilization. A graphical user interface enables to get the relevant information via direct link access. The user can easily get to the information with a drill down from the data center view to the rack view. From a rack view, the server view, he can get to the server view, and from the server, drilling into the business application or virtualization information. One way to address the problems associated with the server sprawl is through physical consolidation, where an organization reduces the total number of servers in use by merging the workload into fewer servers. This allows them to make more efficient use of their computing resources, free up data center space, reduce power and cooling costs, and reduce complexity for easier management. We can provide clarity in the application dependency mapping space. So because application mapping tools need first to learn about the infrastructure, they must talk some basic about the environment like IP address ranges, subnets, SNMP communities before they can start trawling for CI attributes and relationships. These tools are efficient, so network bandwidth consumption is rarely an issue. Discovery technology leverage IP protocols such as ECMP, SSH, and others. Operating system credentials across the server population are needed to probe further. Once the level of security is in place, you then need to provide even deeper access for all the Oracle and SQL databases, WebSphere, BA environments, etc. So Discovery and ADDM tools can integrate the real detail of your application configuration. So the solution includes discovery mapping of unknown application for identification, incorporation of code analysis into discovery process, near real-time discovery and ongoing basis, core CMS supporting pre-deployment changes analysis, and near real-time change detection. So this provides a use value to all the different use cases that we are working and can match and provide a high insight for all the change management initiatives. What about virtualization optimization? Virtualization enabling data centers and server-side computing to become more dynamic and flexible all over the world. The promise of improved availability, efficiency, and reduced cost has prompted a rush to virtualize. However, like many advanced in IT before virtualization, the full saving and potential often take far longer to manifest than we expect. The root of the problem is mainly that we lack the right information. We need an accurate and reliable way to map virtual machines to physical machines. ASG-DDM offers you a solution for easing transition to virtualization and cloud and realizing benefits. The product, thanks to its policy-based approach, is flexible enough for corporations to adapt their specific needs in terms of compliance and for the identification of wasted virtual resources and associated costs. It used agentless data collection based on virtual centers APIs, intuitive flex-based user interface, very exhaustive virtualization configuration gathering including ES6 configuration, resource pool allocation, host guest dependency mapping, allocated storage and vSwitch mapping, full guest VM inventory. It can identify of sprawl VMs, identification also of non-compliant configuration, identification of wasted virtual resources associated to cost, and identification of VM status, and so on and so on. So there are a lot of actions provided through their virtualization management that we are providing. So continuous data centers performance analysis of individual KPIs provide you with context-based insight into the system failure or a deviation from planned result and cost. Our solution performs continuous iterative analysis that baseline workloads, system, and equipment performance. This allows you to create what-if scenarios to forecast capacity and cost for new project deployment options and system configuration. ASG enables you to compare data center application deployment optimization strategies that include workload on virtual machines and private or public clouds, what-if comparisons of operating expenses to determine the most suitable cost-effective strategy to support your business. Because ASG draws on historical and real-time data, it is able to accurately predict asset-level usage and cost trends. Those what-if scenarios are applied the same way for other initiatives like license optimization provided by iCrit, and do answer to other questions like what will be the financial impact of migrating your Oracle database servers to virtual servers running on new physical machines with high core density processor. So ASG-DDM is designed to bring together a modular option of more in-depth CMDB and change management, performance-aware change impact, in-depth asset management capability, data center management, hardware, software, license optimization, and more to enable a more global view of greater flexibility and unearthed interdependencies. It can automatically monitor and reveal relationships between business services, their underlying applications, and supporting infrastructure components. Our ADDM capabilities are modular and can support a lot of roles to collaborate more efficiently so that IT can deliver a better value to its clients. What is important to get is that the solution needs information and knowledge from many sources. Different companies have different part of the answer, and as well as having its own piece of the puzzle, ASG is partnering with the best of breed providers like Aptria and iQuate to build the complete picture and being able to address the different use cases on the ADDM market. So ASG can also provide values combined with other solutions that will enable other initiatives. So part of the solution can be in the cloud management space. So with our Cloud Factory solution, we are providing a unique workspace and all the cloud capabilities, facilitating cloud initiatives like delivering IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, and also all what is around the cloud strategy. DDM consolidate that strategy, providing insight on the infrastructure optimization itself and bringing also relevant information or application dependency mappings on the different application that it is hosted to this Cloud Factory. We have also the configuration management system or the change management system. So we are proposing there a solution called ASG ITASM for IT asset and service management. That includes asset inventory, lifecycle asset management, software asset management, CMDB, CMS, and all the change management and service management aspects. So we understand that there's a huge impact with the ITSM solution, providing it a complementary view, a direct view of all the information and all the information related to the ADDM to perfectly optimize your whole change process and your CMDB process. We can have also the software license, the service level management provided by a solution which is ASG Ingenium, providing service performance management, including the management and optimization of external SLAs and internal operational levels agreements. Capacity management combined with performance, which provide also an extent to the ADDM, and license optimization with iQuate. So with the complete portfolio, we are providing new insight on the different areas. So I have finished my part, so thank you. I don't know if
Thank
I
you,
should.
Renaud. We are right at the top of the hour, but let's take one question from the audience. And I know there were several of you had questions. I will be sure to send those on for you. Renaud, the question is, how can I tell if my organization is ready for ADDM? Is there a simple, quick test?
Actually, if the question is already there, I think you can probably start. So that means, so if you have really no visibility and if you want to understand what is your current level of infrastructure, what is in your infrastructure, I think, yeah, you can start your ADDM. So there are several steps. So you can start with discovery, building up the ADDM piece, going on to the CMDB or the change. So it really depends on which focus or initiative you're looking for. And I think by a step way, you can start at any time. So there's no real moment to start your ADDM strategy or activity.
Great, good to know. Thank you, Renaud. We are actually past the hour now, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's event. There were several of you who wanted to know about getting the on-demand playback and slides. You will be receiving an email from Enterprise Management Associates tomorrow, which will include those resources as well as a few additional ones, so definitely be on the lookout for that email tomorrow. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.